a quick walkthrough into the new releases architecture in ZStream. So if we take a look at the left nav, we're going to notice that the Iterations tab has been replaced by the Boards tab, and the Releases tab is still called the Releases tab, but it works pretty differently. So let's get into what's changed. First of all, releases are no longer an intermediate hierarchy level between project and what was iterations, what is now boards. So releases are now independent from boards, and I can actually have a task in a board at the same time as I have a task in a release. So if I go to boards, there are a ton of tasks here. I can actually filter by releases. So I can have tasks from multiple different releases on this board. And I can also, if we click into a release, I can also have tasks in one release on multiple boards. So here, for example, if we have a board for our front-end team and a board for our back-end team, they can all be gathered together in this release called version 1.1. So one of the things that's changed on boards is we no longer have the three tabs here for tasks, backlog, and versions. So your previous Kanban versions have been migrated to releases here, and they will show up as completed releases. Your open Kanban iterations and your open sprints have been migrated to boards, which are now just boards. They're workspaces where you can keep track of progress and keep track of multiple releases separately on one board, especially filtering by some tasks. Now, completed sprints have also been migrated to completed releases. So when a release is completed, we can see the progress here, but if this was all green, I could come in and complete this release, and I wouldn't have to move any unfinished tasks somewhere else. In this case, there are tasks that are not in a resolved status, so I would have to move them, in this case, to no release. But I could complete this release and move the rest of those tasks. Great, so that's most of what's changed with the releases architecture. So boards and releases are independent. We can create a release, we can have tasks in multiple boards in this release, and we can have on our board tasks from multiple releases. You'll also notice boards have changed a little bit as well, in that we have the capability to sort, and we can quickly filter by assignees here. If you are part of the project team that for the board you're looking at, you will show up always as the first bubble here. And you can filter by multiple users or reset. For example, I can filter by 2 users, and those will show up. And I can either go and click these to get rid of that filter, or I can reset right here. Another nice new feature is that we can now select multiple tasks. And instead of changing their status through the bulk change menu, we can just drag them to a new column. So there we go. One more thing that's changed is that we can now take actions from our board columns to, say, create a task, or to select everything in that column and deselect it, or to actually directly create a release from the tasks in this column. We can also just view this column as a list, and we will see we have this filter here applied by the status of the column we clicked, and we're now in the list view. So I can go back to the board view. There are no columns in that template. And I'll still have this filter active, but that's a quick way to view some big column just as a list and check things off in that status. With releases, we can pin releases to the top of this list. So there aren't too many here at the moment. But if you have a lot and you're working on 1 or 2 specific releases or groups of valuable tasks, it's really helpful to just be able to pin those to the top. Within a release, we can, of course, see all these tasks and edit dynamic tables. There's a separate video about that if you want to go check that out. And we can also set some details about our release. So I can tell people about our product, and I can talk about some updates we've made here and describe these and format everything how I need. So everyone's on the same page. They know what is included in this release. And if anyone has a question, they can go ahead and comment it directly on this release. And you can add attachments and files as well. Great, so that's it for the new releases structure. There are separate videos on best practices for executing sprints or creating sort of Kanban versions with this new structure. So check those videos out. Great, thanks for watching.